Honestly, from the very first moments of this story, I already felt shocked and deeply upset on behalf of the father. To me, this isn't just a simple family conflict, it feels like a brutal exposure of greed and a complete loss of basic humanity. What I personally find unacceptable is how a daughter could coldly force her own father out of the house right after he buried his wife. That level of cruelty is something I cannot comprehend, and I honestly don't understand how money can override blood ties so completely. If you ever believe that family is the safest place in the world, then George's story will force you to rethink everything. Let's see what this devastated father did the very next day that left his daughter completely speechless.
The wine glass trembled slightly in Chloe's manicured fingers as she raised it toward the camera, a wide, confident smile painted on her lips. The golden glow of candlelight reflected in her eyes, making them shimmer with excitement as she spoke. "To new beginnings," she declared, clinking her glass against Ryan's with a soft chime. He played along, his lips twisting into something that resembled a smile, though Chloe noticed the way his fingers gripped the stem of his glass just a little too tightly. The slight tension in his jaw, the way his gaze flitted to the camera before locking back onto hers. It was subtle, but she saw it. He was nervous. She wasn't. Why should she be? They had talked about this for months. Hadn't she reassured him over and over that this was about strengthening their relationship, not destroying it? That opening up their marriage would be an adventure, a way to deepen their bond rather than drive them apart? Their friends' faces filled the screen of her live stream, virtual claps and celebratory emojis flooding the chat as she took another sip of wine. I know. It sounds crazy," Chloe admitted with a laugh, twirling a loose strand of blonde hair around her finger. "But trust me, this is the future. So many couples are embracing open relationships, and honestly, I think it's going to make Ryan and me even stronger." "Are you sure about that?" Lisa's voice cut through the enthusiastic chatter. Chloe's oldest friend leaned closer to the camera, her expression unreadable. "Of course I'm sure." Chloe's laughter had a defensive edge to it. "I mean, we've been together for 8 years. We're solid, strong." She shot Ryan a meaningful glance, willing him to back her up. He took a slow sip of his drink. "Right, solid." Chloe's grip on her wine glass tightened just a little. Lisa arched an eyebrow, but didn't push further. "Well, I hope you know what you're doing." "Oh, come on," Chloe said, rolling her eyes. "You're acting like this is some huge scandal. It's just a new chapter in our marriage. A little spice, a little freedom. What's the worst that could happen?" Ryan's jaw twitched. The conversation continued, moving on to less controversial topics. Weekend plans, upcoming vacations, work drama. But as Chloe basked in the attention of her friends and followers, something gnawed at the back of her mind. The way Ryan had stayed mostly silent. The way he had barely touched his drink. The way he looked at her, not with admiration, not with excitement, but with something else. Something she couldn't quite name. Yet, the first time Chloe felt the sting of doubt, she dismissed it as paranoia. It had been 3 weeks since the announcement, as she had begun calling it in her head. The initial high had been intoxicating. Messages flooded her inbox, a mix of admiration, curiosity, and judgment. Strangers called her brave. Friends called her insane. Her followers wanted updates. Ryan, however, had become a puzzle she couldn't quite solve. At first, he had been hesitant about the entire thing. The idea of sharing each other, of having options, made him uneasy. But Chloe had reassured him, told him they would take things slow, that they would always prioritize each other. "It's about us," she had whispered to him that night, tracing a finger down his bare chest. Not about them. He hadn't looked convinced. But now he was coming home later, dressing better, looking happier. Chloe frowned as she scrolled through another round of dating apps, barely paying attention to the profiles flashing across her screen. It had been 2 weeks since she had set up her account, and so far, the experience had been underwhelming. The men she matched with were either desperate, weird, or only interested in one thing: quick, meaningless sex. Not that Chloe was opposed to casual encounters, but wasn't there supposed to be something more? Excitement? Chemistry? A slow build that left her breathless? Instead, it felt like work. Swipe, A guy with a bathroom mirror selfie and abs that were definitely photoshopped. Nope. Swipe. A man old enough to be your father with the bio. I'll treat you like a queen if you call me daddy. Jesus Christ. No. She exhaled sharply, tossing her phone onto the couch beside her. Meanwhile, Ryan had yet to set up a single profile. At least, not that she knew of. And yet, Chloe ran a finger along the rim of her wine glass, her thoughts swirling. She had noticed it first on a Thursday night. He had come home different, confident, relaxed. There was a lightness to him that she hadn't seen in years. His tie had been loosened, his shirt unbuttoned just slightly at the top. Nothing scandalous, but enough to make her take a second look. His cologne was stronger, like he had just reapplied it, and his hair looked deliberately messy. Ryan was attractive. He always had been. But this was different. It wasn't just that he looked good. It was that he knew it. Long day, Chloe had asked casually, sipping her wine as he walked into the kitchen. He smirked. Something about it made her stomach tighten. Yeah, you could say that. He had gone straight for the fridge, pulling out a cold beer and twisting off the cap with a practiced flick of his wrist. Then, without another word, he had walked upstairs. No kiss, no casual touch, no mention of where he had been. Chloe had sat there for a long time, listening to the sound of the shower running, the doubt creeping into her bones like a slow poison. She had told herself she was imagining things, until it kept happening. Until Ryan, her shy, hesitant Ryan, started acting like a man with a secret. The next night, she decided to test him. They had planned a date night, something she had suggested to keep their connection strong amidst this new arrangement. A simple dinner at their favorite restaurant, just the two of them. She had taken her time getting ready, slipping into a dress she knew he loved, deep red, with a plunging neckline that left just enough to the imagination. She had styled her hair in loose waves, lined her eyes with the kind of smoky liner that used to drive him crazy. When Ryan walked in, his reaction was immediate. His eyes flicked over her body, lingering for just a second too long. But then, that damn smirk again. You look nice. Nice. Her stomach twisted. He used to look at her like she was the most desirable woman in the world. He used to pull her against him, run his hands down her body, whisper filthy things in her ear before they even left the house. Now he looked at her like she was just there. They sat across from each other at dinner, candlelight flickering between them. Chloe reached for his hand, tracing circles on his palm, the way she always had. He didn't pull away, but he didn't react either. So, she said, forcing a playful smile. Anyone catch your eye yet? Ryan took a slow sip of his drink, his expression unreadable. Maybe. Her heart skipped. Oh, he shrugged. We'll see. That was it. No details. No excitement. Just a cryptic we'll see. Chloe had been prepared for herself to be the one with options. She was the one who had done the research, who had read articles about healthy open relationships, who had anticipated the thrill of new experiences. Ryan was supposed to struggle. Ryan was supposed to hesitate. Ryan was supposed to need her. Instead, he was thriving. And Chloe? Chloe hadn't even had a decent match yet. She was starting to feel like she had opened the door for something she wasn't ready to let in. It was subtle at first. The little things Chloe might not have noticed if she hadn't already felt a shift between them. Ryan left for work earlier. He came home later. He had plans more often, plans he never elaborated on. At first, she told herself she was overreacting. He was probably just enjoying his newfound freedom, testing the waters of this arrangement, just like they had agreed. But Chloe wasn't stupid. She knew her husband, and she knew when she was being lied to. It was a Friday night when the first real alarm went off in her head. Ryan had come home later than usual, almost midnight. Chloe had been sitting on the couch, pretending to scroll through Netflix, but she wasn't watching anything. Her mind had been racing, imagining all the possible places he could have been. When the front door finally opened, she glanced at him over her wine glass. Late night? She asked casually. Ryan smirked, running a hand through his tousled hair. Yeah, drinks with some coworkers. Chloe's eyes flickered to his shirt. He had changed. She knew he had worn a navy button-down to work that morning, but now he was in a black Henley. Didn't realize you packed a change of clothes for the office, she said, testing him. Ryan didn't even flinch. I didn't. Just picked this up on my way out. Figured I should stop dressing like a boring married guy all the time. Her stomach twisted. She forced a smile. Right. Makes sense. He walked past her, heading toward the stairs. Then she smelled it. Perfume. Not hers. Something floral, musky, something undeniably feminine. A different version of herself might have let it go. Might have convinced herself that it was nothing, that maybe one of his coworkers had just been wearing too much of it and it rubbed off on him somehow. But Chloe had never been the kind of woman who ignored red flags. She let him go upstairs, waiting until she heard the water running in the bathroom before she grabbed his work bag. Her fingers dug through the usual clutter, his laptop, a half-empty pack of gum, a stray pen. Then she found it. A receipt. One room. The Grand Hyatt. Her blood turned to ice. The timestamp was from that same night. Her hands clenched into fists as she stared at the slip of paper, the numbers swimming in front of her eyes. She had pushed him into this. She had suggested this arrangement. And yet, she was the one sitting at home, drowning in a bottle of red wine while her husband was renting hotel rooms. Chloe took a deep breath, forcing the panic down. This wasn't proof of anything. Maybe it was innocent. Maybe Buzz. Her eyes snapped to Ryan's phone, which was sitting on the counter. A text from her mother. Tonight was amazing. Can't stop thinking about it. Red heart. Chloe's entire world tilted. For a moment, she couldn't breathe. She couldn't move. The words on the screen felt like they were mocking her, taunting her, laughing at her naivety. Her mother. Her mother. No, this had to be a mistake. She snatched up the phone, her fingers trembling as she scrolled up through the conversation. And that's when she saw them. The messages, the late-night texts, the playful teasing, the inside jokes, the pictures, Jesus Christ, the pictures. A selfie of her mother, Julia, in a silk robe, the fabric just barely covering her bare skin. A picture of Ryan's hand, his hand on her knee, and then the words that shattered everything. Can't wait to feel you again. Last time wasn't enough. Chloe's stomach lurched. She stumbled back, her mind screaming at her that this wasn't real, that she was hallucinating, that this had to be some kind of sick joke. But it wasn't. It was right there in black and white. Ryan, her mother, together. The wine glass slipped from her fingers, shattering against the hardwood floor. Upstairs, the shower shut off. Chloe barely heard it. Her ears were ringing. Her world was collapsing. And the worst part? She had no one to blame but herself. Chloe felt like she was outside of her own body. She stood in the middle of her living room, staring at the shattered wine glass at her feet, but she couldn't move, couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Her mother, her husband, her mind kept rejecting it, trying to shove the truth into some dark, unreachable corner. This wasn't happening. This wasn't real. The sound of the shower shutting off upstairs jolted her back into her body. Ryan was coming. Her fingers clenched around his phone so tightly she thought she might snap it in half. What was she supposed to do? Confront him? Scream at him? Pretend she didn't see anything and wait for more proof? Her entire body burned with the need for answers. Her pulse pounded as she turned toward the stairs, her feet moving before she even fully processed the decision. She reached their bedroom door just as Ryan stepped out of the bathroom, steam curling around his towel-clad body. His hair was damp, his skin still glistening with droplets of water. He looked relaxed, carefree, like a man who had spent the night indulging in his favorite sin. Chloe felt the bile rise in her throat. Ryan glanced up and immediately froze. His gaze flickered to her face, then to the phone in her hand. And just like that, she saw it, the moment of realization. The second he knew exactly what she had found. His smirk vanished. His entire body went rigid. Chloe, he started, his voice too calm, too controlled. What's wrong? Her hands trembled, but her voice was sharp as a blade. You tell me. She held up the screen. The text from her mother, still glowing like a beacon of betrayal. Ryan's jaw tightened. His Adam's apple bobbed as he swallowed hard. A flicker of something crossed his face. Guilt? Fear? Annoyance? Whatever it was, it made Chloe's entire body itch with rage. Say something, she demanded, her voice cracking. He ran a hand through his damp hair, exhaling heavily. Chloe, listen. Oh, I'm listening. She laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. I'm all ears, Ryan. Go ahead. Explain to me why my husband is fucking my mother. Ryan winced. It's not. Not what? Chloe shrieked. Not what it looks like. Jesus Christ. Ryan, this is my mother. He had the audacity to look exasperated. I know that. Chloe's stomach twisted. Oh, so you knew it was my mother and you still... She broke off, her breath coming in sharp gasps. She felt like she was going to be sick. Ryan pinched the bridge of his nose, his towel slipping slightly as he shifted his weight. We need to talk about this rationally, he said, his voice infuriatingly level. Let's just. Rationally. Chloe's laugh turned hysterical. You fuck my mom, Ryan. My mother. Do you think there's a rational way to talk about that? Ryan's face darkened. You wanted this, Chloe. She recoiled like he had slapped her. What? You wanted an open marriage, he said, his voice dangerously quiet. You wanted options. You wanted to explore. That's not. So I explored. The room went deathly silent. Chloe's heart pounded so hard it felt like it might break through her ribs. The worst part? He wasn't even sorry. Not really. There was no guilt in his eyes, no remorse. Just that same unreadable look like he had already won. Chloe's hands balled into fists. How long? She whispered. Ryan hesitated. And that hesitation, that told her everything. Oh my God, she breathed, staggering back a step. This wasn't new. This wasn't something that had just happened. This had been going on for a while. How long, Ryan? She demanded, her voice raw. A muscle in his jaw twitched. 6 months. The words crashed into her like a tidal wave. 6 fucking months. Chloe couldn't breathe. The walls of the room started to close in, her vision blurring at the edges. Her mother, her husband, for 6 months, all while she had been swiping through worthless men, searching for something exciting, something new. Meanwhile, Ryan had already found it, right under her nose, right in her own family. A sick, choked sound escaped her throat. I'm going to be sick. She barely made it to the bathroom before the bile rose, her entire body convulsing as she emptied her stomach. Behind her, Ryan just stood there, watching, waiting, like he was already calculating his next move, like he knew she had nowhere to go. And the worst part? He was right. Chloe didn't remember how long she sat on the cold bathroom floor. Minutes? Hours? Time had lost all meaning. Her entire body felt numb, her mind struggling to process what she had just heard. 6 months. Her husband had been sleeping with her mother for 6 months. She squeezed her eyes shut, willing the words away, but they echoed in her skull like a sick mantra. 6 months. 6 months. 6 fucking months. A sharp knock on the bathroom door made her flinch. Chloe. Ryan's voice. Steady. Controlled. Like he was the one trying to calm her down. Like he was still in charge of this situation. Chloe opened the door. She curled her arms around her knees, pressing herself further against the cool porcelain of the tub. Go to hell, she muttered. Ryan sighed, like she was overreacting, like she was just being emotional. This isn't going to help anything, he said through the door. Chloe let out a shaky, humorless laugh. Oh, I'm sorry. Am I not handling your affair with my mother properly? Should I be thanking you for the life lesson? Silence. Then, after a beat, Ryan simply said, we should talk. The sheer audacity. Chloe shot to her feet, yanking the door open so fast that Ryan actually took a small step back. He had changed into sweats and a t-shirt, his hair still damp from the shower. Like this was just another night. Like this was normal. Chloe's voice trembled with barely contained rage. You fucked my mother. Ryan didn't flinch. He just held her gaze, eerily calm. I did. The confession landed like a gunshot. No excuse, no lie, just blunt, matter of fact. Chloe's entire body shook. You don't even feel bad, do you? Ryan exhaled slowly, like he was choosing his next words carefully. I don't regret it. The room spun. She actually staggered back, pressing a hand against the doorframe to keep herself upright. She couldn't even speak. She thought nothing could make this worse. She was wrong, because Ryan wasn't just admitting to it. He was owning it. This isn't what you think, he said, stepping closer. Chloe's head snapped up, her eyes blazing. What the fuck else could it be, Ryan? He didn't answer right away. He just studied her, his expression unreadable. Then, "You want an open marriage," he said. Her breath caught. He wasn't just blaming her. He was justifying it. Chloe let out a sharp, bitter laugh. "You think this," she gestured wildly between them, "was what I meant? You said you wanted to explore. With other people, Ryan. Strangers. Not," she choked on the word. "Not my mother." Ryan just shrugged. She wasn't a stranger. The rage flared so fast, so violently, that Chloe actually saw red. Before she could stop herself, she grabbed the nearest object, a candle from the hallway table, and hurled it at him. It missed. Barely. Ryan stepped back, his expression still infuriatingly composed. "Are you done?" Chloe was panting, her heart slamming against her ribs, her fists clenched so tightly her nails bit into her palms. "No," she seethed. "I'm not done." She took another step toward him, her entire body trembling. "How long have you felt this way?" she demanded. Ryan hesitated, and that hesitation was all she needed. "Oh my God," she whispered. "You wanted her. For a long time, didn't you?" He didn't answer. He didn't need to. His silence was louder than any confession. Chloe swayed, gripping the wall like she might actually collapse. This wasn't just an affair. This was premeditated, planned, calculated. "Did she come onto you first?" she forced out while rising in her throat. "Or was it you?" Ryan's jaw tightened. "Does it matter?" Chloe's breath hitched. "Oh, it fucking mattered. Did you think about her when you were with me?" A flicker of something crossed Ryan's face. Annoyance. Like she was asking too many questions. Like she was making this difficult. "I'm not answering that." Chloe actually laughed. A sharp, broken sound. "Of course you're not." Her hands curled into fists. She wanted to hit him, to hurt him, but she wouldn't. She wouldn't give him the satisfaction. Instead, she turned on her heel and stormed down the stairs, her vision blurring. She didn't know where she was going. She just knew she had to get out of this house. Ryan's voice followed her. "You started this, Chloe." Her entire body went rigid. Slowly, she turned. Ryan stood at the top of the stairs, arms crossed, his expression infuriatingly calm. "I didn't do anything you weren't already planning to do," he said. Her hands shook. "You think this is my fault?" Ryan didn't blink. "I think you opened the door," he said simply. Chloe's vision swam. She had never wanted to kill someone before. But in that moment, she understood what pure, unfiltered hatred felt like. She spun on her heel, grabbing her coat and keys. And without another word, she walked out the door. Chloe didn't remember driving. One moment, she was storming out of the house, Ryan's voice echoing in her head like a sick taunt. The next, she was gripping the steering wheel so hard her knuckles turned white, her car parked outside the cafe, where she was supposed to meet her friends for brunch. Her vision blurred with rage, humiliation, betrayal. She had planned to cancel. There was no way she could sit through brunch and pretend like her entire fucking world hadn't just imploded. But then she thought about what Ryan had said. "You opened the door." That smug, infuriating calm. Like he had won. Chloe wasn't going to let him win. She needed control, normalcy. So she wiped at her eyes, reapplied her lipstick with trembling fingers, and walked inside like nothing was wrong. Her friends were already at the table, chatting over mimosas. Lisa spotted her first, waving her over. "Chloe, Jesus, finally. You're late." Chloe forced a smile, sliding into the chair. "Sorry, rough morning." Understatement of the fucking century. Lisa smirked. Hungover, or sex-hosted, the table burst into laughter. Chloe's stomach twisted. She used to love these brunches, the teasing, the gossip, the cocktails at noon. But now, every word felt like sandpaper against her skin. She forced a laugh. Neither. Just, she hesitated, trying to think of a lie. "Just tired." Lisa studied her. "Huh, you do look like shit." "Wow, thanks." Lisa shrugged. "Hey, just saying. We need to get you laid, babe. Properly laid." Chloe nearly choked on her water. The irony was too much. If only they knew. She was about to change the subject when the girl across from her, Maddie, suddenly snorted at her phone. "Oh my God." Everyone turned. Maddie grinned, flipping her phone around. "Look at this." Chloe's stomach dropped. It was a meme, a blurry, candid photo of her and Ryan from a party months ago. She was smiling, leaning into him, completely oblivious that this would become the joke of the internet. The caption read, "When your open marriage goes a little too open." The table erupted in laughter. Chloe went cold. Her fingers dug into her thighs beneath the table, nails biting into skin. Her heart pounded against her ribs, each beat a violent reminder that this wasn't a nightmare. It was real. Her marriage, her humiliation. It wasn't just between her and Ryan anymore. People knew. Lisa grinned, sipping her mimosa. "Damn, girl, your little experiment made Reddit." Chloe's breath hitched. "Oh, it's all over," Maddie added. Twitter, TikTok, even one of those stupid gossip accounts picked it up. She smirked. People love a good train wreck. Chloe's hands clenched into fists. Train wreck. That's what she was now. A fucking train wreck. She was still processing the meme when Lisa leaned in, eyes glinting with something too close to pity. "So, is it true?" Chloe blinked. "Is what true?" Lisa smirked. "That Ryan's fucking someone else." Her blood went cold. Her throat tightened. What? "Oh, come on," Lisa said, rolling her eyes. "You had to know people were talking." Chloe's pulse roared in her ears. "People are talking?" Maddie leaned in, lowering her voice conspiratorially. "It's just rumors, but I heard Ryan's been really into someone lately. Some older woman." Chloe felt the world tilt. Lisa wiggled her eyebrows. "Damn, he really went for the whole open thing, huh?" They didn't know. They didn't know it was her mother. Her stomach churned violently. Maddie grinned. "Hey, at least he's keeping in the family, right?" Lisa howled with laughter. Chloe barely made it to the bathroom before she threw up. She locked herself in a stall, gripping the cool edges of the sink, her breaths coming in ragged gasps. This wasn't just her shame anymore. The world knew. The internet knew. And the worst part, it was only going to get worse. Because if the rumors were already swirling, it was only a matter of time before someone found out the real truth. Her vision blurred with tears. How had everything fallen apart so fast? A week ago, she had felt powerful, confident, in control. Now she was the joke, the fucking punchline. Her hands trembled as she pulled out her phone. A new message from her mother. "Julia, we need to talk. Call me." Chloe's entire body froze. She squeezed her eyes shut. She wasn't ready. She would never be ready. The door suddenly banged open, and Lisa's voice rang through the bathroom. "Chloe, you okay?" Chloe took a shaky breath, forcing down the nausea, the rage, the pure humiliation. She wiped at her face, straightened her shoulders, then she plastered on a smile, because she wasn't going to let them see her break. Not yet. Chloe had played the confrontation in her head 1,000 times. In some versions, her mother broke down sobbing, apologizing, begging for forgiveness. In others, Ryan admitted he was a monster, that he had manipulated Julia, that he had never loved Chloe. In none of them did she ever picture this. Her mother, sitting across from her at the dining table, calm as fucking ever. Ryan, leaning back in his chair, smirking, like this was some sick joke that only they were in on. Chloe's hands clenched into fists beneath the table. She had driven straight here after brunch, unable to take another second of whispers and memes and knowing looks. The second Julia opened the door, Chloe had shoved past her, nearly knocking over a vase in the foyer. She hadn't even looked at Ryan when she saw him sitting there. Sipping a damn coffee like this was a casual Sunday morning. Now, she was regretting ever coming here. "You wanted to talk," she snapped, glaring at her mother. "So talk." Julia exhaled slowly, placing her hands on the table. "Chloe, I know this is..." "Don't." Chloe's voice wavered with rage. "Don't act like you understand what this is." Her mother's lips pressed together, her composure finally cracking, just slightly. "I didn't plan for this to happen." Chloe laughed. A sharp, bitter sound. "Right. It just happened. You just fell onto my husband's tool, huh?" Ryan chuckled. Chloe snapped her head toward him, her eyes blazing. "You think this is funny?" Ryan took a sip of his coffee, his smirk widening. "I think it's ironic." Chloe's entire body stiffened. "Excuse me." Ryan leaned forward, resting his elbows on the table. "Come on, Chloe. Let's not act like you didn't start this." Her pulse roared in her ears. There was again the same twisted logic he had thrown at her that night in their bedroom. Chloe shook her head, her breath coming in sharp bursts. You really think this is my fault? Ryan tilted his head, feigning innocence. Did you, or did you not, push for an open marriage? Her jaw clenched. That's not the same. Oh, but it is, he interrupted smoothly. You wanted options. You wanted freedom. His smirk deepened. So did I. Chloe felt something snap inside her. Her hands slammed against the table, rattling the cups and plates. I wanted to explore with strangers, not with my fucking mother, Ryan. Ryan just shrugged. You never said that. Her breath hitched. Oh my God, she whispered, her voice shaking. You're actually twisting this, aren't you? Ryan didn't deny it. Julia finally spoke, her voice soft. Chloe, sweetheart. Chloe whipped toward her. Do not call me that. Her mother flinched. Good, because fuck her. Fuck her and Ryan. For weeks, she had been drowning in guilt, wondering if she had somehow caused this. If she had been too eager, if she had pushed too hard. But now she saw them for what they were. Julia reached for her hand, her perfectly manicured nails catching the light. I know you're hurting. Chloe jerked her arm back like she had been burned. No, she spat. You don't get to comfort me. You don't get to sit here and play the wise, regretful mother. She glared at her. You made a choice. And that choice was to fuck your own daughter's husband. Julia's breath hitched, guilt flashing across her face. But Ryan? Ryan just grinned. Jesus, Chloe whispered, shaking her head. You're actually enjoying this, aren't you? Ryan smirked. A little. She nearly lunged at him. Julia grabbed her wrist. Chloe, please. Chloe yanked herself free, standing so fast her chair screeched against the hardwood floor. You are dead to me, she snarled at her mother. Julia's eyes widened. Chloe, no. No, Chloe snapped. You don't get to ask for forgiveness. You don't get to pretend like you care about my feelings. She turned to Ryan, hatred curling in her stomach. And you? Her voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. Ryan raised an eyebrow, still smirking. You think you won, don't you? His smirk didn't falter. Chloe inhaled sharply, forcing herself to calm down. Then she let out a slow, bitter laugh. Enjoy her while you can, she said, her voice like steel. Ryan's smirk finally faded, confusion flickering in his eyes. Chloe stepped back, tilting her head. Because if you think I'm walking away quietly, you're dead fucking wrong. Julia paled. Chloe, please. But Chloe was already walking toward the door. She had plans to make. Chloe always thought heartbreak would feel like sadness, like grief. She was wrong. Heartbreak felt like rage. It felt like every nerve in her body was on fire. Every breath was too much. Every glance from a stranger was a threat. She had left her mother's house shaking, gripping the steering wheel so hard her knuckles turned white. Her mind raced with 1,000 ways to destroy Ryan, to obliterate Julia, to take back control of her own life. But by the time she pulled into her driveway, reality crashed down on her. Her house wasn't her home anymore, not with his presence still inside it, not with the ghost of his laughter in the halls, his scent clinging to their bed, his lies woven into the very foundation. So she didn't go inside. She just sat in the car, staring at the house that no longer belonged to her. Because that's what she was now. Homeless. Not in the literal sense. Her name was still on the mortgage, her clothes still in the closet, but in every way that mattered, she had nowhere to go. And worse, she had no one to go to. She picked up her phone, hesitating for a moment before clicking on Lisa's name. Lisa, who had been her best friend since college. Lisa, who had been there through breakups, through weddings, through every high and low. Lisa would help. She had to. Chloe pressed call, bringing the phone to her ear. 1 ring. 2. Then, hey, Chloe, Lisa answered. But her voice was different, guarded, almost annoyed. Chloe's stomach twisted. Hey, I need to talk. Can I come over? A long pause. Chloe's heart pounded. Then Lisa sighed. Look, Chloe, I don't think that's a good idea. Chloe blinked. What? What? Lisa hesitated again. Because I don't want to be in the middle of this mess. Mess. Like this was some petty argument. Not the complete fucking implosion of her life. Chloe's grip on the phone tightened. Lisa, I have nowhere to go. Lisa exhaled sharply. Chloe, I love you. But you kind of did this to yourself. Chloe went cold. What? Lisa cleared her throat. I mean, you were the one bragging about opening your marriage. You made this whole thing public, and now that it backfired, you expect everyone to pick sides. Chloe reeled. Lisa wasn't just rejecting her. She was blaming her, just like Ryan had, just like all of them would. Chloe swallowed the lump in her throat. So that's it? She whispered. Lisa hesitated. I think you just need some time to figure things out. On your own. On your own. Lisa hung up. Chloe stared at the screen, her fingers trembling. She had lost everything. The next day, it got worse. Her phone wouldn't stop vibrating. Text after text, notification after notification. She had been hoping for support. A friend. Anyone. Instead, she found her name smeared across social media. People weren't just whispering anymore. They were laughing. A Reddit thread titled "The Open Marriage Disaster of the Year" had nearly 10,000 comments. Twitter had memes. One of them had a photo of her and Ryan from their wedding with the caption, "When you say we should see other people, and he chooses your MOM." Her hands shook as she scrolled. She saw former friends, people she trusted, leaving comments. I can't believe she's acting like the victim when she literally begged for this. This is what happens when people jump on trendy relationships without thinking. God, she's embarrassing herself. Just log off, girl. The worst one? A comment from one of her cousins. Honestly, she deserved this. Ryan upgraded. Chloe threw the phone across the room. It slammed into the wall with a sickening crack, the screen shattering. Just like her life. By the time Ryan came home that night, she was done. She was still sitting on the couch, staring at nothing when he walked in. "Chloe," he said. His voice was infuriatingly calm. "You haven't been answering your phone." She let out a hollow laugh. "Yeah, because the entire internet is using me as a fucking punchline." Ryan sighed, setting his keys on the table. "It'll pass." Her head snapped toward him. "That's all you have to say?" she hissed. Ryan shrugged. "What do you want me to say, Chloe? That I feel bad? That I regret it? I don't." Chloe's breathing turned ragged. Ryan leaned against the counter, arms crossed. "You were so sure this was a good idea. But the second it doesn't work in your favor, suddenly you're the victim?" Her hands clenched into fists. "I trusted you," she said, her voice shaking. "I trusted her." Ryan didn't even blink. "Then maybe next time, don't be so naive." Something inside her broke. Chloe shot up from the couch, grabbing the nearest object, her wine glass, and hurling it at him. He dodged, the glass shattering against the wall. Ryan's expression darkened. "Jesus, Chloe. Get a fucking grip." Chloe was shaking. "Get out." Ryan's jaw tightened. "What? Get out," she screamed, her voice cracking. "Go fuck my mother somewhere else." For the first time, Ryan actually looked surprised. Then, after a beat, he nodded. "Fine." He grabbed his keys, walked to the door, paused, and then he turned back, smirking. "Oh, by the way," he said, "we're going to Julia's family brunch this weekend. You should come." Chloe froze. Ryan's smirk widened. Then he walked out, leaving her alone. Again, Chloe told herself she wouldn't go. She wouldn't walk into another disaster. She wouldn't sit at a table with them. She wouldn't let Ryan and Julia humiliate her any more than they already had. But humiliation had a way of finding her anyway. She had barely crawled out of bed since Ryan walked out, her body shutting down under the weight of everything. The world outside moved on. People went to work, met friends, lived. Meanwhile, Chloe existed in a haze of misery, scrolling through Reddit threads about her own downfall. She didn't know what she was waiting for. Maybe for the internet to move on. Maybe for Ryan to come back and say it was all some sick joke. Maybe for her mother to realize she had ruined her daughter's life. None of that happened. Instead, Saturday morning arrived with a fresh new horror, a text from her aunt. Aunt Sharon. "Hey, sweetie, just a heads up, Julia and Ryan are bringing a special guest to brunch today. Thought you should know before you hear it from someone else. Love you." Chloe's blood ran cold. A special guest. No, they wouldn't. They couldn't. Her fingers trembled as she pulled up Facebook, dreading what she already knew was coming. And then she saw it. A new post from her mother. A picture of Julia and Ryan, standing close, his arm wrapped around her waist. They were smiling at the camera, standing outside a fancy restaurant, looking happy, looking in love. The caption? "Excited for brunch with the family today." Can't wait to introduce our special someone. Red Heart. Chloe felt like she was drowning. Her own mother, her husband, and now they were making it official. Like she had never mattered at all. She should have turned off her phone. She should have stayed in bed, locked the doors, blocked every number she knew. Instead, she found herself driving. Straight to brunch. Straight into the lion's den. The second she walked through the doors, every conversation in the restaurant seemed to pause. Not because of her. Because of them. Ryan and Julia sat at the head of the table, side by side like a fucking couple. And, sitting across from them, her grandmother, her aunts, her entire family. Chloe's stomach dropped. They were all smiling. Like this was normal. Like this wasn't the most disgusting betrayal imaginable. Aunt Sharon was the first to notice her. Her face flickered with something between pity and warning. "Oh, Chloe, sweetheart, I didn't think you were coming." Ryan turned, his eyes locking onto hers. And then, slowly, he smirked. "Look who decided to show up," he drawled. Julia's eyes widened in fake surprise. "Oh, honey, we weren't expecting you." "Honey," Chloe saw red. "I bet you weren't," she said, her voice like steel. She stepped forward, her eyes scanning the table, her stomach churning with rage. "So what is this?" she demanded. "Some kind of family announcement?" Julia had the audacity to look sheepish. "Well," she said, tucking her hair behind her ear, Ryan and I," Chloe repeated, her voice sharp as a blade. Julia sighed. "Chloe, we didn't plan for this, but—" "Oh, fuck off," Chloe snapped. Gasps rang out around the table. Her grandmother, sitting at the end, pressed a hand to her chest. "Chloe, language." "Language?" Chloe laughed bitterly. "My husband is fucking my mother, and you're worried about language?" Awkward silence. Chloe turned to Ryan, her breath shaky. "Are you actually serious about this?" Ryan didn't flinch. He just leaned back in his chair, studying her. "Very." Chloe's heart pounded. She turned to her family. "And you're okay with this?" No one spoke. Not one person. Julia finally sighed, placing a hand over Chloe's. "Sweetheart." Chloe ripped her hand away. "Don't fucking touch me," she snarled. Julia frowned. "I know this is hard, but Ryan and I are happy. And at the end of the day, don't you want that for us?" Chloe stared at her. Her own mother, acting like she was the one being selfish. Her jaw clenched. "You know what? I don't give shit what makes you happy." She turned to Ryan. "Were you?" Ryan raised an eyebrow. "Sounds like someone's bitter." Chloe let out a sharp, humorless laugh. "Oh, you think?" Ryan just smirked. Julia shook her head. "Chloe, you need to calm down." Calm down. She was losing everything, and they wanted her to calm down. Before she could stop herself, she reached for the nearest thing, a glass of champagne, and threw it at Ryan. It hit, right in the middle of his smug face. Gasps rang out. Julia screamed. Ryan wiped the champagne from his eyes, his smirk finally gone. "Jesus Christ, Chloe!" Julia shrieked. "What the hell is wrong with you?" Chloe took a step back, her breath ragged, her hands shaking. She looked at the people around her, her family, and realized, finally, fully, she had no one. Not one of them had defended her. Not one. Her hands curled into fists. "Enjoy your fucking fairy tale," she spat. Then she turned and walked out. She didn't stop, didn't look back, because for the first time in her life, she was completely alone. Chloe didn't cry. Not in the car. Not when she got home. Not when she sat in her darkened living room, staring at nothing, her heart beating like a war drum in her ears. She had lost, not just the battle, the entire war. Her marriage? Gone. Her reputation? Destroyed. Her family? They had chosen them. And the worst part? The world didn't give a shit. The memes, the jokes, the internet's amusement, they weren't stopping. They were getting worse. She had become a spectacle. And Ryan and Julia, they were thriving. She saw it unfold like some sick reality show. Her mother's social media accounts, once filled with boring posts about gardening and wine tastings, were now flooded with pictures of them. Ryan with his arm wrapped around her waist. Ryan kissing her cheek. Ryan with her fucking mother's family, smiling at the camera like he had always belonged there. Then came the final blow. A notification lit up her phone. A video. She hesitated. She shouldn't click it. She shouldn't give them the satisfaction. But she did. And there they were, Ryan and Julia, standing in the middle of a restaurant, surrounded by their friends and family. Ryan was down on one knee, holding a ring. Chloe's breath hitched. "No," she whispered. The video played on. Julia gasped, hands covering her mouth in fake shock. Ryan smiled up at her, looking charming, looking perfect, like this was just some fairy tale moment. The text overlay on the video read, "She said yes. Ring." Chloe froze. No, this wasn't happening. She watched, horrified, as Julia squealed, nodding frantically, throwing her arms around him. Applause. Cheers. A fucking standing ovation. The comments poured in. "OMG, love wins. So happy for you too. Can't believe their love story started in such a crazy way. Chloe must be dying right now." Her stomach twisted. And then she saw it. A comment from someone she used to be friends with. El Mayo, she really lost her man and her mom. Talk about being replaceable. Chloe dropped her phone. It hit the floor with a dull thud. Her entire body was trembling. Replaceable. That's what she was now. Not a daughter. Not a wife. Just a fucking joke. And they were winning. Ryan had everything. Julia had everything. And Chloe? Chloe had nothing. The world had moved on. Her story was just a viral moment. A trending topic that would eventually fade, replaced by the next scandal, the next humiliation. But for her, this would never go away. This was permanent. She was permanent. A permanent fucking punchline. The phone screen flickered in the darkness, notifications still rolling in. More comments. More laughter. Chloe inhaled sharply, staring at the shattered pieces of herself around her. She had lost, and there was no coming back.
Looking back at the entire situation, I have to say this clearly: the daughter and her husband may have thought they were clever in trying to take control of the inheritance, but in my view, their actions reflect a complete moral collapse driven by pure selfishness. From my perspective, treating your own father as an obstacle to remove is something I simply cannot accept. That's not just greed, that's a deep erosion of basic human values. What stands out here is the idea of consequences and moral balance. They underestimated an elderly man, forgetting that integrity and the love of his late wife had already given him something far more powerful than they realized, and the key lesson here is simple: never trade your conscience for material gain, because the price is always loneliness and regret. George didn't just win legally, he remained dignified enough to give them a final chance to reflect on their actions. In the end, the piece he finds is a reminder that a life lived with integrity never truly abandons you. What do you think about the daughter's change at the end? Was it genuine regret, or just fear after losing everything?